We're in a WhatsApp group. So the audio you're going to hear from today is going to come from our WhatsApp group, where we have discussions about football every single day, every single hour. There's a new thing. We banter, we send videos, we send voice notes, we go back and forth. It's an incredible place to go there and learn and grow and, experience this football that we love. So on Fridays, they get to choose the topic. So the topic for today, we're going to be taking stock of two things in particular. We're going to be taking stock of the Cosafa Cup, where we're going to speak about what is the point of the Cosafa Cup and what is it used for? Is it still relevant, maybe to South Africa? And then also things like the DDC, for example, the multi-choice idiski challenge, where we sit back and, we speak about how great the development has been and all of that stuff, and it's a great initiative. But is it really a great initiative, and is it living up to its mandate? This is what we're going to speak about today with the group. You'll hear a lot of voices. Some are going to join at different times, and we're going to have a conversation about that. Guys, welcome. How are you guys doing?
Right up to Chiwena.
Before we started this show, but it's fine. Okay, so let me ask. What do we think? Katabayena Cosafa. Ausintabi Cosafa DDC. Udibona jwang tsona the tournament itself. They are retusa, or is it just there to look nice?
Up to honestly, but it's like mabani kulkulente di buaka di scout is okay. Haba scouti talent ya mo South Africa a lot in total to analysis. Ntse said ye to a fella ha re tsebe ho bontsha mang hore o thole hore building ke ena re mona tla thola 1 le 2 le 3. But o tlo bona ile building eno mara ho sa etsa hale ntho tse le naganang hore di tlameha ho etsa hala ka hara that building. Le yona ke the same thing jwalo fela.
Okay. Eriki Kenye Patu, I saw you unmute there. I don't know if you want to jump in. It's fine if you can't. I know you are not with us. Okay, let me go to Theo. Theo.
Hey, what's it, Mr. Otsi?
Sharp, Theo. Theo Tinyalindaba, what are your thoughts about the Cosafa Cup and about DDC, just generally?
Let me first greet you, Mr. Otsi, the guys on the panel and the viewers of the show. I think it's a topic that is very diverse in many ways, especially when it comes to the Cosafa reason. To be honest with you, I've been trying to watch Cosafa, actually, let me not lie on the show. I've been trying to watch Cosafa in the past few years, Otsi. I just don't get the reason. At some point, we once saw Motsepe being taken there, but they never materialized to anything. Even right now, we are seeing these other young players that are being taken there. But I think it's a question which are they also still going to come back and not be played or picked. What I don't get from a South African perspective, why is he not taking the players, Bafana, Apollos, Mfukeng, you understand that those guys that want to break into the national team, take them and play them here. Give them that platform whereby they can grow and then they can adapt to playing against the Matima Angapandle and wearing the South African jersey, man. Bafana jersey, it means a lot. Because you watch cricket, let me make an example in cricket, Oti. When they play a test, like they bring all the big guns, you understand? Like when they play ODIs, they bring the big guns. That's why right now they're in the finals of T20 because they keep a regular squad, you understand? More or less players that are used to the environment. They don't take new players and then take them and put them friendly. Imagine they play the same players even in friendlies. But for us, Cosafa is like a friendly. But the question is, should it not be given to the youngsters that are supposedly to be promoted to the senior team? And understand? Then it will make sense that to pick up a player that we know some of them we're not gonna use them. About Taitas, they might not break to the senior team because we all know there are certain players that he prefers in the senior team. But why don't you bring the players that you prefer in the senior team that are not even playing there and then bring them here and then let them adapt and then join. But the multi-choice is I've watched I've watched the league for 2 seasons now. I promise you that league is very much entertaining. Even and you know I'm a panther. It was one of the most betted soccer league in this last year, last season. He over 2.5 for Puma Lula OT. Like besides that, you guys are come for me for that. But besides that, it was entertaining, you know. That's why we had seen Abu Mfukeng, Abu Shabalala, I mean, many youngsters, Abu Mieni, the guy that, the guy that got injured, because Kaizer Chiefs, he comes from development. I mean, I think it produced a lot of players, but at the level whereby, another one is Stellenbosch. Stellenbosch is working miracles for them. Stellenbosch, that league is working miracles for them because most of their youngsters, they come there. So, I mean, I think it differs on a team, Moti, but for me, that one, multi-choice disc is doing wonders. Yeah.
I'm going to call Malume Kutso then to Lebza. Malume Kutso, welcome to the show. How are you?
Nivukile minjani, Mr. Oti?
Hi, manna keminati, Malume Kutso. Here's the question. I'm going to first ask a general question. What is Cosafa meant to do? What is DDC meant to stand for? And how do you feel about how they are running? Do you think that they are achieving those things?
Yazi, Mr. Oti, astalling a Cosafa, ne?
Okay.
Cosafa is an international tournament among certain nations, you understand, within a specific region. Now, what puzzles me is that those very teams, okay, let's minus the fact, let's try and minus the fact that it's played outside of the FIFA calendar, ne? But surprisingly, even at the same time, it's running concurrently with the Euros. It's running concurrently with the
Copa America.
So you could actually release players if you're relating it to that. Now, what surprises me is that teams that barely have representation in the national team, players that barely touch the field or the grass in the national team, see it fit to exclude themselves from the national team. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. For me, and I say this respectfully, and this is not an attempt to jab at anyone, it has a resounding similarity to the recent attempts by a certain team to minimize our local trophies like our MTN 8, Nedbank Cup, when they fail to win. You understand? Mr. Uzi, if you think about it, why? I said two years in danger, whereas I didn't know how trophy. Now, the Champions League players, Chiefs, Pirates, Sundowns, among the three, you'll only have two. So why reasons are fresh? Why adopting a mentality that would be placed on a Man United that has 4 Champions Leagues? You understand? But actually, Man United takes the FA Cup seriously. Or even Real Madrid, they celebrate those King.
Copa de España, Copa del Rey.
They celebrate them, and when you want to come and try and say no, because it's unique to South Africa, therefore something is wrong with it, which is what the treatment is getting in COSAF, which because it's uniquely African or regional in the sense of COSAF, therefore we must take it on it. We will wake up the day Europe has their own COSAF or one of the regions that have their own COSAF, then we'll be like, yeah, we want to win our COSAF. I mean, a player like Mr. Oti should be jumping at that chance.
Yeah.
To play COSAF, you know, because, and I mentioned him specifically because he's been earmarked to replace one of the most important players in the current Bafana squad. So, in as much as he hasn't played as much, the responsibility that he bears would be bigger than the others, if we're being honest. You understand? Can you actually fit in? And by the time we try and give him a chance, you're about the second game.
So then, Malume Kutso, I just want to understand, are you laying not the blame, but the responsibility on the teams that Maraka, if you don't take it seriously, how can anybody else take it seriously?
No, I'm laying irresponsibility on all South Africans and Southern Africans as a whole. You understand, Mr. This should be a tournament where you call all your best players. Because me, Southern Africa as a whole, you only have 2. Just like Champions League, Nina 2. You'll only have 2 AFCONs. One for Zambia, one for Bafana. How are you acting fresh for this one? Nilambi, the Southern Africans, Nitingama trophy. Bambana trophies are menuguina, act and extra fresh. We should be calling our best squad. And a country like South Africa, it baffles me how we haven't secured this title in a chain whereas our main team comprises of local players mostly. You understand, Mr. Oti? We should be taking those and winning these and using it as a stepping stone to try and win the King, the coveted titles being the AFCON, the King, World Cup. But we're not even taking them serious, Mr. Oti. On what basis do we say we are too good for Cosafa? When you've never actually won the green and gold, on what basis do you think that tournament is beyond you or below you? I really understand. And then the MDC, if I still have a chance, because I've gone a bit too much. The MDC, Mr. Oti, has produced a lot of players, and I think one of the shining lights of the, if we're saying produce, participation means produced, then I can reduce it to Abu Pesitao, who has gone on to not only be one of the best products in Sundowns, but also captain of the national team. From time to time, he wears the arm belt, so he comes through the ranks of the MDC. We have the Pirates right now. A lot of the players, not a lot, but multiple players, if that's even a term, have graced the MDC. We're talking about Sesane, Mufuke, Munyane, and these are players who are actually playing. And some of them, they even have a Bombats who are from Supersport MDC, and it also gives us a chance to spot players from other teams. You understand, Mr. Oti? Okay. So I'll give the MDC a nod, but at the same time, the Kaizer Chiefs culture of over praising their players continues, Mr. Oti. Where's Banting? Where's Litoto? Where's Mashidani? Where's Uchakalaka? Couldn't you man that boy? Giving TV.
Yeah.
Shining lights for Kaizer Chiefs, but nowhere to be found.
Okay. Let me bring in to Lebza. Lebza, what is your take on these two conversations with Cosafa and with DDC? I think, what is it meant for, number one, and do you think it's getting it's achieving that mandate? These two things.
I'll agree with Khoza on one thing. The mentality around the competition itself. The mentality just needs to change. I feel like Cosafa is being undermined. It's not marketed well. It's not being spoken about well enough, because the intention behind it is to improve not just the play, but the standard of refereeing amongst the referees. You see the referees that are allocated to these games, and they're trying to get them to improve and be better referees and have better representation at better competitions. But I think also the mentality around it needs to change and be taken way more serious, because you don't develop a winning mentality without having won anything. But if you start winning these smaller competitions, like, in fact, saying it's a smaller competition is being nonsensical on my part. We need to win every competition that we get involved in. And then our mentality will change. I feel like Cosafa is a good competition that needs people with a vision to see that this is a stepping stone to build a winning mentality in the Southern Africa. I mean, we think less of it, and it's won mostly by Zimbabwe and Zambia most times. I think in that sense it's working for them. You can see even when they speak of themselves, when they speak about playing against South Africa, that Cosafa mentality comes into the conversation, because to them it counts that they've beaten us in the Cosafa. They've done that. They've played well against us in the Cosafa. They've won the trophy. It's the mentality. It builds onto it. So I feel like it's this thing of undermining the competition. I mean, players like Mofokeng, like Mokwena from Sundowns, should be here playing this game, but they've gone to pre-season with their teams, which shows that even clubs themselves don't respect Cosafa enough. So it's a sad situation, but the competition itself is a necessary tool to improve refereeing, to improve stadium organizations, to improve the club, the countries themselves, and the managers, to improve tactics where you have the freedom to think out of the box and come up with new ideas on how to play and how to structure the team. But it needs to be done with players that we know have a realistic chance of getting into the national team, and not players that you're just honoring the fixture. You know, it pains me that that's how this competition. I mean, we spend our time and data and all of that watching these games, but what do we get in return? Are people undermining that competition itself? And then they get surprised when we don't watch more matches. And yeah, it's really sad. But apart from that, I'm happy with both competitions, Diski Challenge and Cosafa. I do watch them, and I do watch also even the Hollywood Bets League as well, because you can't say people need to start watching these games if you yourself are not watching them, you know. So it starts with yourself, you build onto that. So yeah, it's just a shift in mentality that's needed amongst South Africans and the clubs themselves.
Okay. Let me bring in Agent, welcome. This was essentially suggested by you, so I'm gonna ask, what is the thinking behind it, and what do you think about this tournament and also with DDC?
How are you guys? Hope
We're good.
I think firstly with Cosafa, by the way, before I go to Cosafa, we varied some of these tournaments. You know, it's just that there's always a bigger fish to fry. You know, it's just that the other cups are small fishes. Doesn't mean we don't want the fish. Want the fish also, just that the other bigger fish. But anyways, with Cosafa, I think my problem is together with MDC, to be honest, it's like it's on a decline, you know, it's on a free fall, and looks like no one is concerned about it, you know. I used to recall Cosafa games being so attended, you know, especially bafana games, you know, you'd see all you need is love there. I think there was a Cruyff 10 that he did. I don't know if it was against Zimbabwe or Zambia, you know, at a corner flag, and you know, so it used to be exciting, you know, but nowadays it looks like nobody cares, you know. And it has produced a lot of players, you know, because I think the sole purpose of it was to gradually introduce players to international competitions, to allow scouts to have an opportunity to see the talent in Southern Africa all at once, you know, because in Southern Africa, but we have a competition which puts all these teams together, able to identify some of the tournaments. I think Dax was identified to the tournament. I don't know if you guys call him, you know, but anyways.
Adriana Mara, that one.
I think Dipsy, I think I can think of even Patrice Motsepe. I think of, I don't know about Letswalo, I don't know about Shadwili, I'm not sure about those two, but I think they're in and around there. You know, your Hotos, I think, also there. So it has produced a lot of quality, not produced, but quality players that have been able to be picked from the tournament, you know. So it is its intentions are good, you know, because like the guys were saying, you have to start somewhere, you know, as an international, you know, you have to start here in Cosafa, and then you go to Chan, and then you're going to go to the big stages, so that in the big stages you don't get choked, you don't choke, you know. We always talk of federation. We've seen that our under 17s, under 19s, under 20s, and 23s, that structure is also gone, you know.
Yeah.
I can also bake them into the Cosafa tournament also, that it's on a free fall, it's on a decline. You know, when was the last time we spoke of Amajita, Majimbos? But those guys, I don't even know the difference anymore. But you used to get excited. You used to watch those games, but again, the hype is going down, So I think, and I also, Abuti Kuto mentioned something which caught my eye, that it is kind of FIFA tournament, FIFA break, because there's Euros and there's Copa America. So why aren't teams forced to release players, What is wrong with Cosafa? Like, I need someone to maybe explain to me there why teams can't be forced to release players the same way they would release for CAF, Because I always thought it falls outside the FIFA calendar. That's why teams can't release, but it is kind of a FIFA calendar. So I would like to also know that, and also now back to DDC, again, it's a free fall for me because, like Abuti Kuto mentioned, a lot of good players that have come through the ranks, and some fell through by the wayside.
Yeah.
My problem with DDC is sometimes when you're improving something, you're actually ruining it. DDC used to be good as kind of a mini reserve league, when you can have 2, 3, 4 players from the bigger teams who are from injury, who are not playing well, to mix in with the youngsters, to give them the experience, to give them, the knowledge, to share a room, or to share what is it called, a bed with a senior player. You can learn a lot, good or bad, but you can still learn a lot, So I feel like if you recall the players that Abuti Kuto mentioned, most of them came through that DDC, that competitive DDC. Now it's all youngsters. I get the reason why you're getting youngsters and more of them, but I feel like you lost something there, That's why the quality is not that great as it used to be, So I think that was my concerns with this meeting.
I want to go to Theo. Theo, I feel like for Tina South Africans, when we look at Cosafa and we look at DDC, I think there's a mixture of things, man. Ngoba agent just said right now, Guti, for the other countries, it's a great place to showcase people. So Tata Bohoto, Tata Yazin, you take them to this tournament so that they can be found by scouts, right? But I don't know if that is the purpose for South Africans. Ngoba Tina, as South Africans, it's man. That's why Hellman, Biskala Guti, there's no one from the bafana that's inside the team. So Hellman now we pay. But now we have to ask the question, is it a pipeline for Bafana or is it a showcase? And I feel like it's the same good DDC. Maskulmangi DDC, is it a development? Is it under 18, under 17 development? Or is it a reserve league? I mean, is that man maybe the problem here? The purpose of this thing is not clear.
I love what these guys are saying. We are inspiring to make players better, or we wish some players so they could get better recognition and appreciate the tournaments that have been given as a platform for them to slide in them. But truth be told, there's money that is put into this tournament, especially when it comes to DDC. I was once Chiefs, I think Chiefs was playing the senior team. Chiefs was playing against Swallows and and then on the other side, Beglali Chiefs pirated DTC. I promise you, I was watching DTC OT. Not because I'm saying senior team matches they better or anything. Okay, yes, they better, but that was not the reason. It's because when you watch those boys OT, it's not just about entertainment. You are watching the flair. You are watching the freedom of players expressing themselves. So there's a lot of elements. You watch South African football. I'm sorry to use that word when you watch those boys than watching the senior team. Some of the senior teams, as we said, a group in earlier yesterday, they are coordinated, like they are being controlled. But these young boys, you see, a player Otil from the back, defender. He passes police to the opponent's fault. So to answer your question, I don't think it's necessarily about us trying to make them to be available for South Africa. I think we've passed that stage in Kadzabokune. I'm sorry to say that. During the Kadzabokune, that's where personally, I saw with the South African agents, let me put it that way, South African agents, they are no longer seeking that much validation from European teams. But they know our players can get better salaries, better recognition, and better game time here than abroad. So these youngsters as well, I feel like they're developing that mindset. That's why Mfukeng, he went back. He's a star in South Africa. He went back to Wolves and they rejected him. He came back. He's still a star. But you look at it in a bigger picture. Had it been another player, he would have went there and came back a different player. How come I was rejected and none? So I feel like they are no longer creating a platform where it's just for scouters, but they're also developing it to be more entertaining for supporters to come and watch. ETTC is one of the watch. Even I think compared to in the second division, yes, it's like one of the worst division in corner, actually, to tell the truth. Especially Chiefs, Sundowns, people go and watch those games. So it's no longer about scouters, to be honest with you. Even in Cosafa, OT. Okay, Cosafa, the thing is, I'm confused in Cosafa. I don't know, like, that's why I said there's no development. Because I'm confused, to be honest with you, as Abuti has alluded to, what I was also implying. What's the purpose of the tournament if the senior teams or the players that are meant to be there in the tournament are not embracing the tournament? Why will you expect someone from abroad to come and be enticed by the tournament if you don't even make it interesting to bring even two stars OT? Imagine bringing Umdauda, bringing Morena, those kind of players. It will make the tournament interesting, you understand? But instead, we said, no, we're not going to bring stars. We're just going to bring the players that we think people want to know. And at this moment, OT, that does not help us anymore. Because ETTC, for me personally, is doing that. So, I mean, Cosafa is confusing, but the ETTC OT for me is entertaining, guys. I'm from Kambamanga. Maybe Nina stars. For me, I'm Funama Stars. I want to see competition, and the league itself is competitive, by the way. Yeah.
Okay. Let me bring Malume Kutso. Should we separate our mandates for these tournaments? Because, again, I'm hearing as though, we're unsure what these things are meant to be used for. Is Cosafa meant to be a Bafana pipeline, or is it a showcase? Is DDC meant to be a development league, or is it meant to be the reserve league? Should we separate those things and have a reserve league, for example, where the older players who are not getting game time can go play, and then the people who need to be developed can go be developed? Is that what's happening maybe here with this Cosafa and the DDC?
To a certain degree, DDC and Cosafa, similar concepts but very different. However, I'll answer on the DDC part.
Okay.
DDC is definitely a reserve league.
Okay.
Right. I know some people have an issue with the age aspect. However, just like affirmative action, at a certain point, to correct certain things, you have to put in place certain measures, right? So because there was a lack of youngsters coming through, the league had to put an age cap to sort of create an environment where youngsters can thrive or can play regularly. You understand? And to his testament, Mr. OT, the boy who's causing sleepless nights is straight from the DDC, Mr. OT. Omfuken comes into the DDC he's from the DDC and he's here. He's scoring goals, good Nedbank Cup finals, Mr. OT. So it is paying dividend in that regard. Now, imagine if we didn't have these measures at under 21 or under 19 players or under 18, whichever it is, should be playing DDC. We would have had, I don't know, some Vincent Pule occupying those, and I say this with the utmost respect. Would have had Vincent Pule playing in the DDC, and there would be no space for Mfukeng, So because of that age restriction or age cap, we've seen even Nagu Sundowns, when times are tough, when players are occupied, they bring in these DDC boys. Aboban, just don't know their names, but I'm sure you see their pictures, right? Who have come and played PSL maybe once or twice. Same goes for TS Galaxy. They were able to port about Tejani just from watching the DDC. So it might not be a direct progression from your team's reserve team into the PSL, but it also offers an avenue where you play for your team, reserve team, and other teams can easily spot you and say, we actually want this guy. You understand? Just like talent and but. However, one can also say, what about the Mojellas of this world?
That's
Players
yeah.
who are 25, 26, but are yet to get a chance. You understand? If unfortunately, as Agent always says, you have to be unfair at some point to reach a point of fairness. If we were to try and accommodate all of those, we would in turn be creating more of those. If I'm making sense, you understand? If you give all of those 25-year-olds a chance at the reserve team, you create other 25-year-olds in the future who would actually be playing while they're under 25, or rather under 21. You understand? So it is I see it as a development league. No, as a reserve league that seeks to develop, but soon and very soon, once we've achieved a certain level, then they can start maybe allowing 3 or 4 players who are of age or over age to come and play with the young stars. You understand, Mr. Oti?
Malume Kuzo, could it exist separately? Could it exist as most teams, let's say, have 25 player squads, and we know that first team is maybe 15 people, 16 people. Could there be a league, or obviously finances, but could there be a league where the other 9 players get a chance to play? Like, for example, Jody February at Mamelodi Sundowns is probably never going to get a time to play. Well, he played a little bit, but probably never going to get a time to play. Couldn't there be a league for them? And then you take some kids from the DDC who are knocking on the door, let them in, create a team, play that, but still have a DDC separately?
No, I don't agree with that. And I'll point to other sports too, and the very same aim, objective, but in different sports. Let's talk about cricket and rugby.
Yeah.
When it is legislated that certain players must be in there, teams tend to come up with creative ways of getting the best out of a specific demographic or whichever it is, right? But when it's just please come through with 1 or 2, they pick mediocre guys and put no effort into it. You understand? So now that they know which you have to use an 18-year-old, then maybe somehow they will be able to source out one of the best 18-year-olds and not just be kind of lazy and just pulling whatever 18-year-old that is wearing a soccer boot and a jersey, knowing that they can just put them on the bench, or rather that they can just use them for the other league, and for the main league they will use these other reserves. You understand? I would rather have them forced to do it so that they can actually bring out the best, and not just if they are forced, then they start coming up with bad players. That too, they should be punished. They should be coming out with the best of the best. The best 18-year-olds, just like how in rugby they go and scout for Craven Week, they should also be going to your Engine, your Bay Hill Cup, and scouting for the best 18-year-olds or 19-year-olds to use them for the DDC.
Okay. Let me bring you to Lebza. Should we separate the motivations for these tournaments? Because it feels like we want these 2 things to be everything at the same time. So we want Cosafa to be a Bafana developmental way of coming into Bafana. So if on the fringes, this gives you international exposure. But also we want it to be, or it's meant to be a tournament where you showcase some of the youngsters, or you showcase some players, and maybe they get taken by international teams. And then on the DDC side, you have a tournament that I guess one side is meant to be for the fringe players of your club to be able to play. But then there's also a side where it's a developmental side. Shouldn't it be separated, man? Have a DDC for development where the kids are playing, and then have a reserve league where it's members of your first team or the team who are getting game time while they wait for their chances inside the first team, and have Cosafa maybe be a showcase, and have Chan be the one where we pipe players into a pipeline. Are we having we're putting those things together?
No, I don't think so. We do have competitions for younger players as well. I mean, I've seen the under 13 being beaten 39-0 in Portugal, being beaten 21-0, being beaten 5-0 in the
that
Cristiano
happened this
Ronaldo.
week.
Yeah, in the Cristiano Ronaldo youth tournament. They got walloped so bad. So we do have smaller competitions for the young ones. And just like how Sundowns went to play in the Kevin De Bruyne tournament as well, the youngsters there, and they did well. They beat teams like Man City and the likes. So we do have competitions where we are competing internationally at a younger age. I just feel like Cosafa needs because it's probably working for other countries, but I'm speaking primarily for South Africa here. It's probably working for the likes of Zambia and Zimbabwe, who are constantly winning it. I feel like for South Africa, we need clubs to release about 4 experienced players to go with the youngsters. I mean, what I saw in our game against Mozambique was panic in defense. Every time they had the ball, the guys were panicking. They looked for... They were never comfortable to hold the ball and find spaces to move out with the ball. They scooped the ball up front as soon as they saw someone coming and they felt pressure. There was no... you see the level of comfort that we see at Bafana when they hold the ball at the back. You put pressure on them, you do whatever to them, they're still gonna hold that ball and play it out the way they know how, comfortably so. But with this Cosafa team, I didn't see any level of comfort, and they missed goals. They just need that experience that calms them down and get us to win games. I mean, we don't have to get all the superstars. We can get like four senior players who come with the experience from Bafana and calm the young boys down. It does not. They don't need to be separated because we do have other development clubs and all of that. There just needs to be a change in mentality to take these things serious and realize what they contribute to our national team, the big picture.
So do you maybe see it as maybe a clash of mandates in terms of Cosafa, where according to Agent, we know why the other countries are here. We know that it's a showcase. Why then would a first team player in the PSL, let's say Tito, why would Tito want to go play with players that are going to be showcased? You know, is that not a problem from the South African perspective as to why maybe we don't take it seriously?
Challenges is not even playing at Bafana. So, as Abutil Khoza said, he is earmarked to replace probably a generational player. And we expect him to replace a generational player without giving him the necessary tools, like putting him in Cosafa, putting him in the other competitions, to equip him well enough to have the confidence to lead and take the leadership role in Bafana, you know? Yeah. So he does not have the luxury of not wanting to play in Cosafa. He needs to take that as an opportunity and run with it and show the country that I'm ready, you know? Okay. So for me, it's just a shift in mentality. That's all I'm saying.
Let me go to Agent. Agent, you know, I look at a player like Samgelo Zwane, for example, and I look at him and I say, I'm not sure if he's getting the requisite game time that he needs, but also I can't send him to DDC, for example, right? He's above the level. But then we call it a reserve side, yet it's also a development. Shouldn't we separate those things and say, you know what, guys, here's the league for Bosamgelo Zwane, for the fringe players, your Jody Februaries and all of those guys. Here's a league for them where at the very least they're playing at a PSL level. We maybe take some of the youngsters from DDC that are doing very well, that are also knocking on getting in, and we put them into that reserve league. And then we keep the DDC running as it is. Is there a conflict of mandates that is happening here, number one? And then number two, with Cosafa, like I said, I could understand why Tito wouldn't want to go play at this thing, because it's like, oh, Mara guys, if I'm not even going to, and I'm not going to say it is, but if I'm not going to be playing with the best players from those countries, why would I go kick a ball a little bit there with those guys who are not on my level, who are there for a showcase? And why would Hugo Bruce care about this tournament? Is it maybe just a conflict of mandates here, and maybe they should be split?
I would start with two and then go to one. With two,
okay.
Firstly, sometimes I feel like we should separate ourselves from the other nations, because I think we think ourselves that after God, there is us, then there's others in Africa. We think so highly of ourselves, unfortunately, I don't know. But if you look at other teams, I want to give you a simple example, right? Okay. Last year's Cosafa squad, right? And tell me if you recognize the names. Fundamentally, Lloyd Kazapua, Ryan Hanaboop, who else was there? Dion Hoto, Peter Shalulile, Wendell Rudeth. Yeah. That is Namibia full squad. More or less. So I feel like, and if you want to see the importance of this kind of tournaments to the other teams, yes, they come with youngsters to showcase them, but they do bring most of the squad, if not 60 or 70% of the full squad, Okay. And look at the way Namibia is progressing. Look at the way Lesotho is progressing. Eswatini to a certain extent, Botswana to a certain extent. Zambia, we know it. Zimbabwe, it has its own problems, right? But Namibia, Lesotho, all the players, when they say he's abroad, they mean SA, right? But for some weird reason, these teams play better than us, until recently they're performing better than us, why? That should have been a question that we're asking ourselves, that teams take this tournament seriously and they make sure that players progress through the ranks, and once you have that kind of progression, you can't go wrong, But back to SA, like you're saying, we should have our own mandate, right? To interlink it to multiple choice a bit. Fleming said to Sundowns, from now onwards, I don't want a 19-year-old, I want an 18-year-old, I think, in the Sundowns DDC. Once you're 19-18 and you've broken up, you have to go somewhere else, was it? But some age, he put an age factor to it, So to Sundowns, I think is a development more than a reserve, So he put a mandate. So like you're saying with Cosafa, we need to have our own mandate. That okay, other teams, yes, is that chance to progress that team, is that chance to do 1, 2, 3, 4. With us, what do you want to do with Cosafa, right? And take it from there, And sometimes we forget that Europeans have this caps thingy, the number of caps that you have for your national team. Isn't this the chance to get those caps? Easy caps.
Yeah.
So it should be a money that guys, we've earmarked, what is this boy? Mufukeng. We have to go to Europe 2-3 years in 2 or 3 years time, So we must give you as many caps as possible so that this little or no happens to us we move. Tito, like the guys are saying, we want you to replace Ozwani. So you need this international experience. Come and get it now, Especially for, I don't know about Tito, like I said, it's only recently that I've been aware of him, as I said, I've been following him. I don't know if he's went through the under 17s, 19s, 20, and 21. I don't know. No, but I don't think so. So even if he hasn't, this is the chance to say, you skipped an important stage in international development. This is your time to get developed, And like I said, you have good squads that came from Cosafa. Your Dollies, everybody has played here. So why can't we do the same, right? And our coach also is sitting the tone that he doesn't take it serious. That's why he's not there also.
Yeah.
As much as I'm his fan, Now, back to DDC shortly. I think, I don't know if we recall the way it was started as multi-choice challenge. It was a reserve side. I think you only allowed 3 players, I think, as senior teams, as senior players. That experience was sufficient for the boys to learn from inexperienced guys. Yes, are you taking two, 3 positions from other guys? Sure. But it's not like those guys are there all the 30 games. They're not. So your Titos will still come. I mean, your Bufokens will still come around. But if you have someone, a John Holt, who's coming from injury and he's telling, hey, boy, you don't always have to run. Okay, let me not use Tito. Let me use some, what is this guy? Maseko. You don't always have to run by the line. Sometimes relax, cut inside. Emorena, for example, is coming from injury. They're both speedy players, You advise him, my boy, don't always have to run that way, So for me, the moment they put that age cap, and remove the 3 seniors, they're supposed to create 2 tournaments. The reserve side, who's going to be a mix of youngsters and the DDC players, like I say, and a DDC, Why at this point, I guess now it becomes the development side, but most leagues have under 19th league and the 21 leagues like that.
The 23.
Exactly. And even at the CAF level, you always see Champions League games for Atletico. I always see Atletico versus Man City earlier around 11:30 before the big teams there at around 9. So it comes from there that maybe even CAF has to take up the initiative. But how can CAF take up the initiative when even us don't have it? So I think you make a good point that maybe there's a.
Because the question the reason why I'm asking this is that the way I understand the idea of a reserve league, it's people that you are giving this league so that they can stay warm or stay ready. Then I can call them up at any time to come play in the first team. So for me, it seems as though DDC is a developmental thing. And it's fine. I'm not even saying scrap it. I'm saying then make it the development. Make it purely developmental, where you've got your age caps and all of that stuff. But I think what I'm worried about, and maybe I'm overemphasizing this, but what I'm worried about is, I've got a team of 30. I only play 16, 18 throughout the season. How about we create a place where the other 12 and maybe the DDC players that are really good, like super good, where you want to test them and see how they look with professionals. You create a league for them. Because if I remember correctly, before DDC and stuff like that, we used to have a reserve league, and that was the fringe players. It was completely the fringe players getting to run around. And the examples that I'm using is Abo Samgelo Zwane, where I say, Mara Samgelo Zwane has been sitting on that bench. Yeah, Chiefs, for example, Bokhatebe have been sitting there. Couldn't we create a place for them specifically to play against other Samgelo Zwanes and Khatebes and maybe some of the older guys, where we know that they were getting something out of them, or they're keeping warm, or they're doing whatever. And should I need to call them, I can bring somebody up. But I feel like it's mixed, man. I even have questions about the contracts, where I go.
And that's your point. And on your point, before I forget, I think I'm going to raise it up also. When we have, don't come up with half-big plans. Come up with a fully fleshed plan, right? You are saying that you have DDC. This is meant for development. After that development, what next? Or is it God willing, you'll proceed? We shouldn't leave that to God willing, We should say, at least, because you are investing a lot of money into this DDC, say at least one player or 2 players, or at least even put minutes, say, in a season, they should have at least 300 or 400 minutes of DDC players, or graduates of DDC, so that at least there's that progression. Because now you're saying, I'm developing these players. After developing them, what is it next up to the club? We have wasted a lot of money, until recently, Sundowns used to develop players, and then where do they go next? Nowhere. But when you force it, like you're forcing the youth, the NFD guys, why can't you put a similar rule? I remember in Egypt, I think some years back, when Al Hadri was resigning, they put a rule that no goalkeeper, all goalkeepers should be Egyptians. Of course, the team, So why can't we put such rules? So I guess leadership, I guess.
Okay. I want to go to Theo. Theo, how do we make these things better, man? How do we improve about Cosafa Cup, about DDC? Ngoba mina, I feel like some of the things we do, especially when it comes to the national team, bafana, I don't feel like there's a plan. I mean, up until recently, coach Cosafa wasn't even coach that's anywhere near Bafana. I think Ramu Rebuli was the coach last time before this one. So how do we improve these things?
At some point, I wish we could bring someone of Cosafa so that we can question, because I think there are so many valid questions that I think Cosafa, they don't even ask themselves. As a team like South Africa, I think like South Africa is one of the resourceful teams in Africa so far. We have facilities that are very much appreciable. It's a super sport is here. All those things. The question that should be asked would be: are they doing enough to make sure the football in South Africa it progresses while there's still time? While countries like Nigeria, they have not catched up yet. Because there's gonna be time where those guys are gonna catch up, and we're gonna feel like we're actually wasting our time with what we have. I'm even thinking now that if OT you look at England, let's make an example in England. Do you know ETDC account? No.
I know the under 23,
right?
Yeah, I know the under 23 because they usually when you come from injury, bakufaka lapho ku under 23 with the bigger players and they anyway.